So I've left Bishkek, left this morning, and I'm now on my way to Osh. It's about 600k along this highway. There'll be plenty of climbs. I think I read there's a few 3,000 meter peaks. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes, really. If I could do it, if I get to Osh next weekend, yeah, it'd be cool. And then after that, it's looking unlikely that I'm gonna get the Tajik visa, unfortunately. Yeah, I went along to the embassy yesterday morning. The guy was really helpful. It's a tiny little place. He was helpful, but he tried to be helpful. He basically said he couldn't do anything, because he said the e-visa is just like completely separate to what he does, and what he can do. So he was just like, you just have to go online and email them, basically. My heart says something will happen and it will all turn out good, but my head says, nah, I don't think. He'll probably get lost in the system, I think. Yeah, which is that's a shame. I mean, let's not speak words over it, but we'll have to reassess when I get to Osh, I guess, because that's when you sort of either head south towards Tajikistan, or I just head on west into Uzbekistan. And yeah, I'm pretty relaxed about it. I'd love to do the Pamir Highway, and whilst I'm here, because the guy at the embassy was explaining that the only other way would be for me to get one on arrival in Dushanbe, and that would mean I'd have to like fly from Osh to Dushanbe and then just like go back on myself, and I don't know if I don't really want to do that, so I might just have to try and do it another time, I guess. It's another summer holiday idea. About to enter the mountains now. Don't know if I can. That's a sort of preview of what I'm going to be facing. I'm all good. Bike's all good, pretty sure. So we'll just slowly make our way to Osh, I think.
I was just thinking just now, it's actually quite nice sort of being in the mountains and actually being able to like take my time with it, because usually the only real previous stuff I've done like this have been like racing, and that's where you have to, as soon as you wake up, you pretty much pack up all your stuff and off you go, because time is always against you. But now I can sort of actually just chill out a little bit this morning and have my brekkie, and I've just made some coffee, and yeah, it's quite nice. So just had a bit of a just rainstorm. All of us just came out of nowhere, but it stopped now. It was torrential rain for about 10 minutes. I put on all my gear. Now it's just stopped, although it does look pretty ominous up ahead. I think it is blowing over, but you can see that's what I'm cycling towards. Yeah, just absolutely crazy. Just similar to China, just torrential rain.
but now it's stopped and the sun is trying to get out, so yeah, making decent progress towards Osh. It's got up over the that first 3,000 meter peak, came down a bit. It's just been a bit up and down really, but yeah, slowly making my way there. So I'm the other side of Toktagu Lake, I think it is, or Toktagu Reservoir, which is good. And then I looked at the map briefly. I think there's only like one more sort of 3,000 meter peak, but just in my head I'm just sort of take it as it comes, which I think is the best way to go about it. Yesterday was a good day until I stopped at this family restaurant, and they're all really lovely. I had a meal there. It also served as like a guest house, so there was another family there, I think. And had a meal, and then I was like, oh, is there somewhere I can pitch my tent? And she was like, yeah, you go ahead, you just pitch it here. I was like, oh great, settled for the night. A couple of hours later, I'm lying in my tent, and I'm just thinking, I don't feel right, something's not right here. Yeah, I proceed to get out the tent, go to the loo, not good. Get back in the tent, and then moments later it was, oh, I'm gonna be sick here, which I was. And then long story short, proceeded to have the worst sort of DMV experience I've ever had. Just, yeah, horrible, not nice. Yeah, it wasn't great, but woke up this morning, didn't feel too bad actually, and food wise I've kind of just sort of tried to not be too exotic, and I don't think I will be for the next couple of days. I'm just gonna try and eat just foods that I know I can sort of, that I trust almost. Considering last night and how I felt, it's been a pretty good day today so far. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, dogs. Since I've been here, worst country so far for dogs. Just, there was a part yesterday where, like, beautiful landscape, yurts everywhere, and you're thinking, oh, this is amazing. Then all of a sudden you see something charging towards you, barking, and you're like, what the? And you have to turn into Mark Cavendish for about 20 seconds and just to try and get away. But yeah, dogs that's one thing that's, yeah, it's just something I didn't expect, I guess, here, but yeah, it's happened. There's numerous occasions now. The other thing is flies, just flipping all around my face when I'm climbing. Even when you get to pretty high altitudes, and you're just like, just get off my face. The climbs are hard enough, but when you got flies just poking about your eyes, nose, mouth and ears, it's I mean, they're all over me now. It's just, yeah, pain in the arse, I'd say. So I made it to Osh, where I'm staying in this hotel, which is, yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, when you've been cycling for a while, a bed and a shower and, you know, having a bit of space to yourself is actually quite nice. So a couple of days ago was a big day, about 170k from
Toshkamur, all the way to sort of Jalalabad, and it was getting pretty dark. It was about 8ish, and I wanted to make sure that I got out of this corridor where it's pretty built up. There's like lots of villages and towns that you cycle through. So I knew it'd be difficult to find a place to camp. So yeah, I rode quite hard through there through the day. It was pretty flat, a bit up and down, but pretty flat. So I was able to make some decent ground. And then towards the end of the day, I was kind of looking for somewhere to camp, and then one guy sort of insinuated to like, oh, like come have a drink. I thought he meant like tea or coffee or something. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll stop, and then maybe I can ask if I can put my tent up somewhere. So I went, stopped the bike, went down. Turns out it was like a bar, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to have a beer. I just want to sort of find somewhere to stay. So I bought some water, and then asked the owners, "Oh, is there somewhere I can put up my tent?" And then they had a discussion, and one of the women took me around the corner and was like, "Oh, there are these like cabins. We have these cabins. Like you can stay here for the night." So I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" Like that's a bit of relief, I think, because I don't know, finding somewhere to camp is always quite sort of, like, yeah, you can get a little bit anxious because you want to find somewhere that's out of the way, and here in Kyrgyzstan there's been lots of dogs that will sort of chase you, and then you don't want to like camp on some sort of like farmer's land and then he come up to you and get all angry. So it was a bit of relief when she said, yeah, you can sleep in one of the cabins. And so I was like, oh, okay, great. And then I was like, well, you know what? I'll have a beer then. And she said, yeah, beer's on the house. Had a beer. And then they gave me some food, which was nice. Just some like soup and bread and some watermelon, which was good. And so yeah, I stayed there. And then I knew I was only about 100k from Osh then. So I woke up early the next day, set off. Was a bit sluggish, but eventually got going. And then got to Erzgun and was cycling through the sort of the main street. Not quickly. I was going, because I was weaving. I was going through traffic. So I was sort of like going along, trying to go through any spaces I could. And then all of a sudden this car door just opened and completely took me out. I sort of, like I said, luckily I wasn't going that quick. So the fall wasn't that bad. But it's just a bit of a shock when you sort of, well, you ask any cyclist who's clipped in and then suddenly something like that happens, and it's that split second of, oh crap. I just pray that I don't break a bone, break an arm or a collarbone or something. But yeah, the fall wasn't that bad. A few scrapes and bruises. Yeah, it was just annoying. Yeah, got back up pretty quick and continued on. And then got to the hotel in the afternoon, chilled out, which was nice. And I've done some laundry this morning and been looking into Uzbekistan, which I'm excited about. From what I've read, it looks pretty awesome. And then sort of figuring out where I go from there. It's looking more and more likely it's going to be Turkey. I was just looking at where in Turkey. I was looking, because I don't really want to just go to Istanbul and then cycle on, because Istanbul's like right on the western point of Turkey. Because yeah, it'd be nice because you're like closer to home, but yeah, you can't really say you've cycled through Turkey if you just go to Istanbul and then a couple of days later you're in Bulgaria. So I was looking at Trabzon on the northeast. It's on the coast of the Black Sea, so I think maybe that might be a potential starting point for Turkey, and then go from there. It's strange to think that this sort of part one of the journey is almost coming to a close, because I've got from here to Tashkent will probably take me 3-4 days, and then I'll stay there and then head along to Samarkand, which I think is quite a poetic ending, I think, to the part one of the journey, just because of the poem, The Golden Journey to Samarkand, which is a famous poem by what's his name? James Elroy Flecker, I think his name was. So I think that would be quite a nice way to sort of round off Central Asia. It's disappointing that I couldn't do Tajikistan. I think that's another summer holiday sort of trip, another adventure for another time, I think. The idea of getting to like Samarkand is exciting. It's difficult to comprehend how far I've come, I think, on a bicycle. If you'd have told me this a couple of years ago, that I'd do something like this, I would have just been like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I like cycling, but cycling across countries, or repeated days, day after day of cycling, even that would have just... Yeah, and to think before this trip, the longest time I'd spent in a row of cycling was what, 5 days, 5-6 days, in both those the bike races, the Atlas Mountain Race and the Silk Road Mountain Race. The trip has also been everything that I've wanted it to be, if that makes sense. You know, I've gone from the highest highs to the lowest lows and everything in between, and had to deal with, well, I've been knocked off my bike, sickness, despair in Kazakhstan, and how to describe China. It was quite mentally draining, I think, China, because it's just so big. I'd like to say I've enjoyed every single minute of it, but I've not enjoyed it, which is, you're probably thinking, well, why are you doing it then if you're not enjoying it in all aspects? But I think there's something quite nice in that you're there are points where it gets difficult, and you do think, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, that there hasn't really been a point where I've wanted to stop or give up. Maybe Kazakhstan, after trying to fix the back wheel, change the tire. That was probably that's been the only point where I've thought, you know what, if I just get through this, and then maybe I could call it a day. But I don't know. It's quite hard to articulate. Sort of, for this trip, I wanted it to be more than just enjoying sort of the open road in the mountains, meeting some lovely people, and I don't know. I've had different thoughts whilst being on the bike, and one of those being it's almost searching for that primal instinct of just not survival, but sort of that persistence to keep moving forward, to keep going even though it is tough, because you don't really, well, you always have a choice, but just to keep going, to keep pedaling, to keep moving forward. And then the other thought I had was almost sort of, this trip has been about not destroying myself, but sort of grinding myself down to then build myself back up again. I don't know, because the last number of years, it's just been a bit, I've done like bits and bobs, bits and pieces, and I'm still trying to search for what I'm good at. And I hate the cliche of finding myself. I'm not. That's not what this trip is about. Because I know who I am. But it is just sort of having a think of where I want my life to go after this. Because I wanted to break the cycle of sort of what I was going through, and this trip has helped, and it's just given me time to have a think about, well, reflect on the previous years, but also to think about what's next. Because I do believe that what you do is part of who you are as a person. And I want to be able to do something that I enjoy and that it's fulfilling, instead of sort of living for the weekend, sort of thing, where you go to work, you do your job, and then you sort of do your stuff in the evenings and on the weekends and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the trips helped in that regard. It's been long enough so far, and I think when I get to the end, it'll be a long enough trip for me. Because I see all these, you see people like cycling around the world and doing months and years on the bike, and that's not for me. I don't think that's not what I want to do. because there needs to be a goal or an end point, which is getting home. I think that's quite a nice target to set, because I wanted the challenge to be big enough that it would scare me, and that by completing it would be one hell of an achievement, but not too big that I would think I was just sort of drifting into nothingness, almost just having no end point. I think that would just be, you'd be fully lost then, and that's not what I want. Because these last few years, it does almost feel like I've just been drifting a bit, and I didn't want to just continue to do that. So yeah, the target of sort of home is quite a nice one, I think, because it'll still, yeah, I mean, I'm only, when I get to Samarkand and then fly to Turkey, that's around halfway. So it'll still be another couple of months from Turkey to back home. Oh, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired. But a good tired. Because the way I've been cycling, it's been quite hard and aggressive. You know, I've sort of tried to keep on moving. It's not been... Yeah, I've tried to just keep the progress up, which I think is that's just in my nature. That's just, I think we all have that in our family. But I quite like that. I quite like that. That's, you know, some people will ride hard and fast all the time, every day, and some people will take it quite leisurely. Whereas I'm sort of, I don't know, when I am riding, it will be hard and fast, but I like being able to be like, well, I'm in control. I think that's the biggest part of it. I can say when I want to stop. And, you know, taking rest days is quite, it's nice. It's important as well. Because I know that I couldn't do it for too long a period. Yeah, I don't think I'm explaining this very well. Like, for example, to get from Bishkek to Osh, it took me, 5 days of sort of tough cycling, but then it's nice to then take a break. But yeah, nearly there. Go again tomorrow towards Uzbekistan. Then about a week's time, probably get to Samarkand.